Sittin' there in the dark, I clutched my phone like a lifeline, watchin' that damn video for probably the 10th time that night. It was her, my wife, Claire, gigglin', swayin' to the music, and lockin' lips with some other guy, right out in the open like our marriage vows were just a joke. My chest felt like it was on fire, a messy mix of hurt, rage, and this itch for payback, but before I could even think about facin, her, life threw me a curveball I never saw comin'. Karma swooped in with a wild twist that left me speechless, wonderin' what the hell I even believed anymore. Oh, and before I get too deep into this mess, drop a comment below and tell me where you're tunin' in from, I'm curious. If you're into these kinds of stories, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Over on my beat-up leather couch, I was hunched under the glow of a desk lamp, my laptop teeterin' on the armrest like it might just give up and slide off. The furnace hummed low in the background, mix in with the steady click-click of my mouse, while outside, the December wind wailed like it was tryin' to bust through the window. On the screen, I had a YouTube video rollin', a sizzle reel of Larry Blake Johnson, this basketball hotshot I knew back in college. Larry stood 6 feet tall, blonde hair flowin' and tied back, the king of our old campus scene, and I still remembered those quick, easy chats we'd have when life wasn't so complicated. These days, he's a big-shot game show host, and I keep tabs on him, feelin' proud but also a little jealous, if I'm bein' real. Flippin' through YouTube suggestions, my eyes snagged on a thumbnail screamin' Blake's Wild Night in Miami, another conquest, with Larry dancin' alongside some gorgeous blonde. I couldn't help myself, I had to click it. Nestled in my lap, the video loaded up shaky phone footage from a packed nightclub, strobe lights flashin' wild, bass thumpin' loud enough to rattle your bones. There was Larry, struttin' his stuff on the dance floor, arms slung around this woman Logan like she owned the place, and then it hit me, that's Claire, my Claire. The proof was brutal, the way they moved together, all cozy and in sync, topped off with a kiss that didn't leave a shred of doubt. Then the screen flashed its little kicker, Blake scores again. I just sat there, froze up, the room turnin' as chilly as that wind howlin' outside. Starin' at the laptop, my shock melted into this gut-wrenching ache. My shaky hands hovered over the keys, and I hit replay, steelin' myself to feel that stab all over again. Fingers tremblin', I fired it up once more, every second of that clip hittin' harder, clearer, like the screen was rubbin' it in my face. The nightclub beats pounded loud now, matchin' the thumpin' in my chest that wouldn't quit. There she was, Logan like she didn't have a care, blonde hair catchin' those neon lights, pressed up against Larry way too close for comfort. I couldn't peel my eyes away, Larry's hands sittin' smug on her lower back, her leanin' into him like they'd done this 100 times. I tried tellin' myself it wasn't real, that maybe the camera was playin' tricks, makin' it look worse than it was. But then that kiss came, slow, on purpose, full of heat, and it smashed any hope I had left. Rage boiled up hot inside me, burnin' through the fog, and I slammed the laptop shut so hard the snap echoed in the quiet room. For a second, I just stared at the blank screen, catchin' a glimpse of my reflection in the faint light, face red, jaw locked tight enough to hurt, lookin' like a stranger. Questions started crashin' in like a damn landslide. How long had she been doing this? Was Miami the only time, or were there more? Did she think I was some clueless idiot? The betrayal hit me like a punch, twistin' deep, and this wave of shame washed over me right after. I pictured her co-workers at that conference she went to, were they all whisperin' about her, about me, the dumbass who didn't see it comin'? I shot up from the couch, stompin' around the room like some wild animal stuck in a trap. My brain was runnin' a mile a minute, but no matter where it went, it always slammed back into the same brutal truth. I kept rewindin' the last few weeks in my head, huntin' for any clues I might have been too dumb to catch. I'd given her a peck goodbye at the airport, even cracked a joke about her snagglin' some Miami trinkets. Had she been smirkin' at me then, already cookin' up this stab in the back? Or, hell, maybe Larry'd been floatin' around in her mind all along, some secret daydream she jumped on the second she laid eyes on him. I snatched my phone off the cushion, desperate for something, anything, to make sense of this, and before I knew it, I was punchin' in Claire's number. It rang once, then twice, 3 times, before that damn voicemail kicked in. I didn't bother sayin' a word, just chucked the phone back onto the couch, my hand shakin' so bad I could barely hold it steady from the anger boilin' up. Needin' to get my head straight, I scrolled back to that video's timestamp, posted less than an hour ago. Man, this wasn't some old screw-up, it was happenin' right friggin' now. She'd fed me this line about a business dinner, some fancy conference with her ad firm, but there she was, twirlin' around a nightclub, tossin' our promises aside like they were trash. My thoughts took a nosedive, sinkin' into this black hole of fury and misery. Larry, the guy I'd looked up to, this larger-than-life figure, had crossed a line I couldn't forgive, and Claire, my wife of damn near 20 years, had gone right along with him in the worst kind of double-cross. As the cold, hard facts sank in, my anger sharpened up into one clear decision: this crap stops here. So I grabbed my phone again, scrawlin' to Sean's name this time. No more guessin', no more sittin' on my hands. I had to know the truth, even if it was ugly as sin. I stood there, glarin' at the phone in my grip, my thumb twitchin' over that replay button one last time. I knew I shouldn't, but like an idiot, I let the video fire up again anyway. Every frame sliced into me, rippin' at my pride and my heart like a jagged knife. The shaky camera zoomed in way too close, catchin' every rotten detail. Claire's cheeks all rosy while she danced, that big, carefree grin she flashed when Larry leaned in to murmur something in her ear, her fingers diggin' into his shoulder like she'd claimed it for herself. That kiss, though, that was the killer, slow and on purpose, not a shred of guilt in sight. No way to pretend this wasn't what it looked like. She wasn't tipsy or caught up in some harmless fun. This was real, personal, and meant something. My jaw locked up so tight it hurt like hell, teeth grindin' together. I froze the video right when their lips crashed, that image sittin' there like a snapshot of my life fallin' apart. Breathin' hard, I shoved the laptop off my lap and onto the coffee table with a thud. My hands were shakin', not from bein' scared, but from this tornado of rage and embarrassment tearin' through me. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the YouTube app, and saved that clip. If Claire tried to play dumb, I'd have it ready to shove in her face. My finger lingered over her name in my contacts for a beat before I mashed the call button. The ringin' scraped at my nerves like a rusty blade, once, twice, 3 times, and nothin'. I muttered a curse under my breath and dialed again, gettin' madder by the second. Voicemail popped up again, and I didn't waste my breath leavin' a message, just fired off a quick text: "Call me now." I flung the phone onto the couch and started passin' again, draggin' my hands through my hair like that'd fix anything. My head was a mess, questions bouncin' around with no answers. How long had she been pullin' this? Was this a one-off, or had she been lyin' to me for who knows how long? And why Larry, out of everybody, why the guy I knew, the one I used to think was something special? I scooped up my phone again, scrolled through my contacts, and stopped on Sean. He'd been my buddy since college and was down at that Miami conference too. If anybody had the dirt on what was really goin' down, it'd be him. I hit call and held my breath, waitin' for the line to pick up. "Hey there," Sean answered, soundin' all casual, but I caught this little hitch in his voice right off the bat. "It's Jake, man," I said, my words comin' out stiff, barely holdin' back the anger churnin' inside me. "You got any idea where Claire's at right this second?" There was this long, heavy quiet on his end, like we were strollin' past the guest house and he'd just stopped dead. When Sean finally piped up, he sounded careful, like he was tiptoeing around a minefield. "Jake, listen, buddy, this ain't good news." My gut took a nosedive. "So she's with Larry," I shot back, flat as hell, "not even a skin, just knowin'. Sean let out a big, tired breath, and I could hear the sorry in his tone. Yeah, she's been glued to him since we landed here. Ain't nobody missed it. After Tuesday night rolled around, you couldn't pry them apart. Sean huffed again, like he'd rather duck into his work than deal with this mess. Everybody's been clockin' it lately. I swallowed hard, my fingers clampin' down on the phone so tight it hurt. Glued to him? Break it down for me, Sean, what are we talkin' about here? Alright, man, every night they're hangin' out, Sean spilled, soundin' like he hated sayin' it. She's ditched the group dinners, and her roommate's tellin' me she ain't even crashin' in her own bed. We all figured she's shackin' up with him. And now that video's blowin' up on YouTube, come mornin', it's gonna be everywhere. I squeezed my eyes shut, slumpin' against the wall as Sean's words landed like a sucker punch. You think she's been sleepin' with him? He paused, then let out another sigh. Can't say for certain, but yeah, looks that way. They've been actin' like the rest of the world don't even exist. My jaw locked up again, tight as a vice. Appreciate you layin' it straight, Sean, I said after a stretch of silence. Can you do me a solid? He sounded like he was noddin', slow and somber. You got it. If you run into her before her flight tomorrow, tell her not to bother comin' back here. I'll take it from there. Another beat of quiet hung between us before Sean came back with, I'm real sorry, Jake. Honest. Same here, I muttered, hangin' up. I stared at the phone sittin' in my hand, the whole damn mess sinkin' in deeper, like quicksand pullin' me under. My marriage, my trust, my family, it's all fallin' apart, and now I've gotta figure out what the hell I'm doin' next. When I think back to college, I can still picture the first time I laid eyes on Claire, clear as day. It was the kickoff of our next to last year. In this math class everybody hated gut-punchin through. The room was half empty, just a handful of quiet, nervous types scattered around, but there she was, parked by the window all by herself, blonde hair glowin' in the mornin' sun. Claire was scribblin' little doodles in her notebook, totally tuned out to the fact she was stealin' the show. Me, I wasn't cocky but I had some guts, so I plopped down right next to her. She flicked her eyes up and hit me with this smile, sexy, sure, but with a spark that dared me to keep up. Guess somebody's got the brains to grab this spot, she tossed out, teasin' me right away. Or maybe I just don't mind a little stink, I fired back with a grin, leanin' in just enough to sell it. Her laugh rang out, real and bright, like music you can't help but feel. I knew right then I'd stuck the landin'. Over the next few weeks, me and Claire started chattin' more. We'd shoot the breeze before class, sometimes wander over to the student union together after. She had me hooked, smart as a whip, driven, and this easy charm that just pulled you in. Only problem was Jordan. Claire's boyfriend, Jordan, wasn't your average competition. Guy was a hockey player, built solid, with this natural cool that didn't need to try too hard. At 5 feet 8 inches and a lean 220, he had this vibe that made heads turn without him even workin' at it. I met him one time during a study session when Claire brought him along. His handshake was strong, his smile real enough, but underneath it, I caught the vibe loud and clear. I see you sniffin' around, pal, but she's mine. Even with Jordan in the picture, I couldn't get Claire out of my head. We had this easy vibe between us that just grew stronger every time we talked. What started as study sessions turned into these long, rambling chats, math faded into stuff about life, dreams, and what we wanted out of the future. I gave Jordan his props, he was sharp, driven, all about his goals, but I couldn't help noticin' the weak spots in their setup. Claire dropped little comments sometimes about how hockey ate up his time, how they barely saw each other, and these quiet hints she wasn't all that happy. Things really shifted when she dragged me into this bridge tournament. We teamed up, and damn if we didn't click right away. Our back and forth flowed smooth, landin' us a solid third place without breakin' a sweat. Jordan was there, watchin' from the edge, actin' like it didn't faze him, but I caught this quick flash in his eyes, somethin' territorial, maybe a little rattled. It was gone fast, but I saw it plain as day. Then there was Lauren, my neighbor, who started showin' up in the mix. She was a knockout, full of energy, and had her own weird thing goin' with Jordan that I didn't even clock at first. Nothin jumped out back then, but I kept gettin' this nagging feelin' that our little circle was knottier than it looked. Lookin' back now, I see those days planted the roots of somethin' big, tiny signals of the backstabbin' that'd eventually blow my life with Claire to pieces. Back then, we were just dumb college kids fumblin' through love, youth, and big plans. Still, the cracks were already there, buried deep, waitin' for the perfect time to bust wide open. The sun was high, stretchin' shadows across the trimmed grass, when Claire climbed out of the cab. She froze for a sec, clutchin' her suitcase handle tight, her eyes dartin' over our house like she wasn't sure it was still hers. That front door, usually my safe spot, felt more like a wall now, blockin' her from whatever she was scared of losin'. She sucked in a breath, hauled herself up the driveway, but when she punched in the code, it wouldn't budge. She hammered it again, hands shakin' like crazy, still nothin'. Panic crept in with her frustration, and she started leanin' on the doorbell, the chime bouncin' around the quiet street. A couple houses down, old Mrs. Cunningham was peekin' through her curtains, her nosy eagle eyes trackin' every move. The door finally swung open, and there I was, face all twisted up with a storm brewin' inside me. My jaw was locked tight, arms crossed hard over my chest. "Why'd you even show up?" I asked, my voice icy, missin' all the softness it used to have for her. "I'm home," Claire said, barely above a whisper, her words wobblin'. She let the suitcase drop and took a step toward me, but I didn't budge, just stepped out onto the porch and shut the door solid behind me. "This ain't your place anymore," I snapped, cuttin' her deep. My words hit like a smack, and she stumbled back a little, eyes poppin' wide with shock. "Jake, come on," she started, voice crackin' apart. "I screwed up, I get it, but we can work this out." Work what out?" I cut her off, volume crankin' up. "You wanna chat about how you made me look like a fool for the whole damn world to see? About how you trashed our family for a few nights of that?" I waved my hand around, disgust pourin' out of me. "It was a mistake," she begged, hands locked together like she was prayin'. Tears were rollin' down her cheeks now as she edged closer, her voice fallin' apart. "I wasn't thinkin' straight, Jake. It didn't mean a damn thing." "Didn't mean a thing?" I shot back, lettin' out a sharp, empty laugh. "Meant enough to torch everything we had. Meant enough to turn me into the punchline for my buddies, the neighbors, and our kids." Claire dropped to her knees right there on the grass, her cries bouncin' around the empty street like a siren. Mrs. Cunningham had wandered out by then, actin' like she was fussin' with her flowers, but her eyes were locked on us. Down the way, Mr. Ellis stopped dead with his trash can half-dragged, peekin' over at the mess unfoldin'. "Jake, for God's sake," Claire choked out through her tears, barely gettin' the words above a whisper. "I love you, man. Don't do this to us, don't just throw it all away." My face turned to steel, but damn if my eyes didn't let slip a quick sting of hurt. "Love?" I shot back, practically spittin' the word. "If that's what you call love, I ain't interested. Your stuff's sittin' in the garage, that's the closest you're gettin' to this place from now on." Her wailin' kicked up louder, but I wasn't budgin'. Mrs. Cunningham finally shuffled over, her gentle tone slicin' through the thick air. "Claire, honey, how about you come on into my place for a bit," she said, restin' a soft hand on Claire's shoulder. Claire flicked her eyes up at me one last time, huntin' for any crack of mercy, but I stared back hard, my anger set like concrete. She got the hint, there was no way around it, so she hauled herself up, shaken like a leaf, and let Mrs. Cunningham steer her off. I swung the door shut behind me, pressin' my back against it, chest heavin' like I'd run a marathon. Through the blinds, I caught her vanishin' into the neighbor's house. Didn't feel like I'd won a damn thing, just this heavy, hollow ache crashin' over me, leavin' me more alone than I'd ever been. Inside, the place was dead quiet, except for that faint kitchen clock tickin' away. I stood rooted in the livin' room, glarin' at the shut door like I could make all that noise outside disappear if I stared hard enough. My hands balled up tight, knuckles bleachin' white from the strain. That whole showdown with Claire kept loopin' in my head, every word we threw at each other clawin' at my nerves like nails on a chalkboard. My chest felt squeezed, this tangle of fury and hurt knotting up so bad it ached. Couldn't just stand there, the rage was burnin', too hot, racin' through me like a brush fire. With a low, guttural snarl, I charged down the basement steps. The place was shadowy, stuffed with junk from old projects I'd abandoned, but right in the middle was my lifeline, the heavy bag, danglin' there quiet, ready for me. I didn't even think twice, just grabbed some gloves off the shelf, but halfway into pullin' them on, I stopped. Screw that, this wasn't about form or playin' it safe, I needed to let it out. I tossed M to the floor and squared up to the bag, shoulders locked, fists twitchin', somethin' fierce. First hit landed solid, a deep thump echoing through the room. Then another, and another, each one packed with the sting of her betrayal, the shame, the heartbreak. Breath burst out of me in short gasps, sweat beatin' up fast on my forehead as I hammered that bag with everything I had. How the hell could she do this? The question scorched through my brain, pushin' me harder. My fists flew quicker, heavier, tryin' to beat that picture of her and Larry out of my skull, but it wouldn't budge. That damn video kiss kept flashin' back, stokin' the fire in my gut. The humiliation hurt worse than any bruise I could have taken. My arms started screamin', muscles beggin' for a break under all that raw feelin', but I kept goin'. The bag was swingin' wild now, takin' the brunt of my storm. The sound of my knuckles slammin' into the canvas filled up the basement, smotherin' the quiet. I yelled out, echoing her pitiful plea from the lawn, my voice crackin' with this mix of rage and misery. I threw a mean uppercut, puttin' my whole body into it, damn near ripped the bag off its chain, but it still wasn't enough. My hits got sloppy, wild, as the tiredness started settin' in. Breathin' rough, eyes blurry with sweat and tears I wouldn't own up to, I kept swingin'. After one final, wild swing, I dropped to my knees, my forehead bangin' against the swayin', heavy bag. The basement went still again, just my ragged breathin' cuttin' through the quiet. I stayed there, stuck in that spot for what felt like forever, the heaviness of it all cruishin' me down. My shaky hand reached out slow to stop the bag's rockin', fingers quiverin' as they brushed it. My knuckles were torn up and bleedin', but I didn't give a damn, the sting felt good, somethin' real to pull me away from the storm twistin' inside. After a while, I slumped back against the chilly basement wall, sprawlin' out on the floor. My chest was still pumpin' hard as I stared up at the ceiling, my head spinnin' with what's next. I was wiped out, body and soul, but that ember in my chest kept glowin', waitin' for somethin' to set it off again. I was sittin' real quiet in the livin' room armchair, the afternoon sun sneakin' through the curtains, paintin' the place in this gloomy light. My brain was a mess, churnin' over the last few days like a bad dream that wouldn't quit. Then the doorbell snapped me out of it, sharp and sudden. I dragged myself over and opened it. There stood Howard and Susan, Claire's folks, lookin' all wound up and serious. "Jake," Susan started, her voice soft but with an edge, "we gotta hash this out." Howard gave a quick nod, trailin' his wife into the livin' room. I didn't tell em to sit, but they plopped down on the couch anyway, like they were settin' up camp till they got their piece said. "Listen," "Son," Howard said, his tone even but tight, "I get why you're pissed. You've got every reason. But think about the kids, this doesn't have to be the end of the line." I crossed my arms, staring em down cold. The end? You think I can just shrug off what she pulled? I flicked my eyes to Susan. It's all over the damn internet. The kids'll hear about it soon enough. Ain't no way I can act like it's nothin. Susan leaned in, her voice turning desperate. We ain't here to defend what Claire did, Jake. She knows she screwed up bad, but she still loves you, and she needs you. For the kid's sake, don't let one slip-up tear down everything you two made. Slip-up? I snorted, the bitterness leaking out. You're calling 3 nights with that jackass Larry a slip-up? She didn't even try to keep it quiet, and you expect me to buy that she still gives a damn about me? The silence hit hard, thick and suffocating, like a wall nobody could climb. Howard finally let out a long breath. Jake, take some time, man. Talk to a lawyer, mull it over, don't lock in your choices while you're this fired up. I stood up, done with it. Already got a lawyer, I said, voice like ice, and I've never been surer of anything. I turned my back, leaving them sitting there, stuck in their own quiet helplessness. It was late, and I was nursing a beer in the kitchen when my phone buzzed on the table. Some number I didn't know popped up on the screen. I didn't want to deal with it, but I picked up anyway. Jake. Larry's voice slid through, smooth but cocky as hell. I owe you an apology. My hand clamped down on the phone, rage flaring up fast. You think saying sorry fixes this shit? I snarled. He went quiet for a beat, then his tone got sharper. I'm not looking to make this worse, Jake, but let's be real, this ain't all my fault. Claire came running to me. Shut your damn mouth. I yelled, hand shaking so bad I nearly dropped the phone. You tore my family apart, don't think for a second I'm letting that go. Larry's voice dropped, turning frosty. I don't want to fight, man, but if you keep pushing, it might turn ugly for you. I've got pull, Jake. You don't want to mess with that. That half-assed threat was like tossing gas on my fire. I gritted my teeth, my words coming out thick with spite. Cross my path again, and you'll regret ever sticking your nose in my life. Larry let out this quiet little laugh, and it just stoked the fire raging in me even hotter. Watch yourself, Jake, he said. Don't go doing something you'll wish you hadn't. Listen up, Larry, I fired back, keeping my voice low and sharp like a blade. I'll do whatever it damn well takes to keep my family safe. You stick your nose in again, and I ain't accountable for what's coming your way. The line went dead, leaving this cold, heavy silence, but I just sat there, hands shaking like leaves in a storm. Larry's big talk didn't spook me, it only locked in my grit even tighter. One thing was crystal in my head, no way was I letting him, or anybody, hurt my family more, no matter what I had to pay to stop it. The sun was setting, splashing gold across the quiet streets, making everything feel weirdly peaceful. I was trudging through the park, my brain all knotted up with hurt and fury, just needing some air to shake off the dead chill in that house. As I swung by the basketball court, this familiar sound hit me, the steady thump of a ball smacking the ground. I glanced up, and there he was, Larry, his tall frame cutting a shadow against the dying light. Rockin' a plain jersey, he was dribbling solo, moving smooth like the world was his playground. I stopped dead, a tidal wave of anger crashing through me. My fists balled up tight, and for a split second, I pictured marching over there to lay into him. But then something wild went down before I could even move. Larry fumbled the ball, and it bounced off the court, rolling toward the road. I watched from a ways off as he loped after it, all easy and unbothered, like nothing in life could touch him. Then, out of nowhere, this black SUV roared around the corner, barlin, too fast to break. Larry, heads up, somebody yelled from off in the distance, but it didn't matter, it was over quick. The crash rang out sharp, bustin' up the comm like a gunshot. Larry's body flew up, twistin' midair before slammin' down hard on the asphalt. The SUV locked up, tires squealin' loud against the street. My legs wouldn't budge, I was stuck, watchin' it all crawl by like some slow-motion nightmare. The shouts, the engine's growl, the breeze rustlin' through, it all melted into this dull buzz in my skull. I edged closer, pulled by something I couldn't name, my eyes glued to Larry lying there, still as death on the pavement. The driver, an older guy, face twisted with panic, tumbled out of the car, fumbling with his phone to call for help. I didn't see him, I swear, he kept mutterin', hands quiverin' like crazy. I stood there, a few steps off, heart poundin', not scared, but with this strange flicker of relief I wouldn't let myself own up to. Larry, the guy who'd smashed my world to bits, was gone. No more face-offs, no more bullshit excuses, no more chest-thumpin' threats, done. But that ease didn't fill me up. I hated him, sure, but I'm still a man, and watchin' anybody, even him, go down like that ain't simple. I stared at his body, blood seepin' out onto the road, and this big, empty hole swallowed me up. Is this it? I thought, the question bouncin' around in my head. This wasn't some win, didn't bring me peace, just left this deep, dark gap. The faint howl of an ambulance started closin' in, and I stepped back, lettin' folks rush up to deal with it. I turned away from the wreck, feelin' like I'd just snapped out of some rotten dream. But down in my gut, one thing stood out sharp, my life was flipped upside down for good, no rewindin' the tape. The sky went black, and with every step, I was pullin' away from the rage but divin' deeper into bein' alone. From here on, I knew I'd face whatever's next without lookin' to settle scores or patch things up, just me and whatever's left. The counseling room wasn't big, but it had this warm, snug vibe, lit up soft by a little table lamp that made things feel less harsh. Dar. Naomi Green, this sharp-eyed, middle-aged doc with a voice that could calm a storm, sat across from me and Claire. A low table split the space between us, but it might as well have been a canyon, the way we were sittin' there, miles apart in our heads. "All right, let's get started," Dr. Green said, her tone steady but carrying some weight. "Today's about diggin' into why Claire did what she did and seein' if there's any patch of ground left where you two can rebuild some trust." I was slumped there, arms locked across my chest, staring at some random spot on the wall like it held all the answers. Claire fidgeted next to me, nervous as hell, her fingers twistin' up the edge of her shirt like it was keepin' her from fallin' apart. Dr. Green cut through the quiet, lookin' at me first. "Jake, what's makin' it so damn hard for you to let go and forgive?" That simple little question hit me like a punch to the gut. I swung my eyes over to her, feelin' the weight draggin' 'em down. I can't forgive her 'cause it ain't just about her screwing me over. She smashed up everything I thought our family was. Every time I look at her, all I see is, I choked up, clampin' down on the rest. Dr. Green gave a nod, her face calm but pushin' me on. "That's real, what you're feelin'. Ever think maybe forgivin' her could lift some of that hurt off your back?" I let out this sharp, sour laugh. "Forgiven? Ain't no way I'm ever feelin' free knowin' she picked somebody else, even just for a fling. Lettin' it go don't wipe those pictures out of my head." Claire started bawlin', her voice shakin' like a leaf. "Jake, I messed up bad, I know that, but I never meant to cut you this deep. Hell, I don't even get why I did it. I just..." "Just what, Claire?" I barked, my words slicin' through the air. "Just wanted to test drive Larry for a few nights and then waltz back like it was nothin'." Dr. Green threw up a hand, her voice firm but cool, stoppin' the fight before it blew up more. "Hold up, let's take it slow," she said. Claire, you said you don't know what drove you to it. We gotta unpack that. What was going on in your head before all this? Claire sucked in a shaky breath, trying to pull herself together. I was driftin'. Felt like me and Jake weren't even tied together anymore. Work, the daily grind, it all turned into this dull loop. Then I ran into Larry in Miami, and I wasn't thinking straight, just felt like somebody saw me, wanted me. My fists balled up tighter, eyes drillin' into the floor. Driftin'? Why didn't you say something to me? I'm your damn husband, I'm the one you should have leaned on, not that bastard. Dr. Green jumped in, her stare locking onto me. Why's it hit you so hard that she didn't turn to you, Jake? 'Cause that's what bein' married means, I shot back, voice wobblin' with the anger bubblin' up. When shit gets tough, we're supposed to hold each other up. But she ditched me for him. Dar. Green let the quiet hang there for a bit, giving my words room to settle. Then she leaned in. If Claire's really sorry and ready to change, you think there's any shot at wipin' the slate clean? She watched me close, waitin'. I dropped my head, shoulders twitchin' just a little. Part of me wanted to shove it all aside, believe we could patch it up and move on, but those flashes, Claire and Larry, their arms all tangled, their grins, that damn kiss, kept rippin' through me like a jagged knife. Nah, I said at last, quiet but dead sure. I can't do it. I don't trust her no more, and love don't mean shit without that. Claire lost it, sobbin' hard, while I turned my head away, couldn't even look at her. Dr. Green took a slow breath, wrappin' up the session with this heavy vibe. You both need more time to wrestle with this stuff. Just keep in mind, healin' only works if you're both all in. I got up, gave a quick nod, and walked out of that room without a glance back. Every step felt like I was haulin' a load, but deep down, I knew I'd made up my mind, forgivin' her wasn't something I could stomach, even if it meant trudgin' ahead all by myself. I stepped into Attorney J. Ellis's office, grippin' a folder stuffed with proof of Claire's mess. My face stayed hard, but my tired eyes gave away the sleepless nights and the war ragin' in my head. Karen, this seasoned lawyer with a no-nonsense vibe, leaned in close, talking in every word as I laid out the whole damn story. So what are you after with this divorce? Karen asked, her sharp gaze pinned on me. Custody of my girls, I said, no second guessin'. I want 'em livin' with me, in their home. Claire can swing by, sure, but I ain't lettin' 'em get tangled up in the wreck she made. Karen bobbed her head. We can push for that, especially if you've been the main one holdin' things down for 'em. Just know Claire's got every right to fight back, and you gotta be ready for a scrap. We'll need to show you're the steadiest option for those kids. We moved on to split tin up the stuff. Karen pointed out the house, mine before we tied the knot, would probably stay with me, but the joint savings and other bits get carved up by the law. I didn't care much about the cash or junk, my daughters were the only thing worth a damn to me. Weeks rolled by, and the divorce papers got locked in and sent off to court. I kept my cool, staying detached, while Claire lawyered up to cover her own ass. The whole thing went down in this thick fog of strain. In court, Claire pushed for shared custody, playin' up how sorry she was and swearin' she'd fix everything. Me? I stood firm, hammerin' home the steady life I'd given the kids through all her chaos. The judge made us both hit up family counselin' to figure out what's best for the girls. I wasn't thrilled, but I'd do anything to keep 'em safe, so I went along with it. After weeks of back and forth and sittin' in hearings, the judge handed me primary custody. Claire got weekends and some holidays, not a total win, but enough to know my girls grow up in a solid spot with me. Claire was holed up in her new little rented place, sittin' quiet. The small room, neat as a pin, glowed faint from the light creepin' through the window, set in this heavy, gloomy mood. Divorce papers sat smack in front of her on the table, a cold slap of all the screw-ups she'd piled up. Ever since I filed, she'd been movin' through life like a damn robot. Guilt ate at her every day, shadowin' every second. Pictures of me and our two girls kept flashin' in her head, stabbin' her with what she'd thrown away. How'd I let it get this bad? Claire muttered under her breath, tears wellin' up fast. She'd torn apart the man she loved most and trashed the family she used to hold dear. In court, when I laid out why I wanted custody, Claire couldn't argue. Every word out of my mouth, even the icy ones, rang true as hell. She'd put everything we had on the line, and she got that I was just shieldin' our kids. Still, she fought, not to come out on top, but to show our daughters she was still their mom, still ready to make it right. But every move she made just showed how far apart we drifted. I stayed rock solid and clear-headed, while she, knowin' full well she'd messed up, couldn't shake the weak spot that landed her here. When the judge dropped the final call, Claire's heart cracked wide open. She didn't have a voice in our girls' everyday lives no more. Visits'd be all she'd get, and she had to swallow the fact they'd grow up with me runnin' the show. Claire slipped out of the courthouse without a word, eyes glued to the ground. She didn't break down, but this hollow ache in her chest felt like it might swallow her whole. Back at her place, she cracked open her laptop and started tapping out a letter to Betsy and Linda. She couldn't undo what she'd done, but she needed em to know I loved em fierce and I'd never quit trying to be better. Every line she wrote carried her guilt and this shaky hope they might catch a glimpse of what's in her heart. For Claire, life after the split turned into this long haul of figuring herself out and clawing her way back from the mess she'd made. She swore she'd patch up what she broke, even knowing some scars in my heart weren't ever gonna fade. I yanked the kitchen curtains wide, letting the early morning sun spill into the quiet house. The clock hit 6:30 a.m., and I'd already whipped up breakfast for my girls, Betsy and Linda. The table was set for 3 now, felt off, like something was missing, but I filled the gaps with dumb jokes, their favorite grub, and just being there, steady as a rock. Betsy, your science project's due today, yeah? I asked, sliding a plate of sunny-side eggs her way. She gave a sleepy nod, eyes still half shut. Linda, parked next to her, let out this big ol' yawn. Both of em were wrestlin' with this new setup, and I knew it wasn't a cakewalk for em. After we ate, I piled em into the car and drove em to school. That old route felt strange without Claire riding shotgun. Part of me still had this empty spot gnawing at me, like I was just going through the motions, but I didn't let it linger. Keepin' Betsy and Linda solid was all that mattered. Back home, I settled into my little work corner, flippin' open my laptop to grind on some programmin' gigs. I'd switched to remote work to stick closer to the girls. It kept my brain busy, but when the house got too quiet, flashes of our busted marriage crept in. When that hit, I'd head downstairs and pound the heavy bag, more controlled these days, less wild. I'd also picked up joggin' around the block in the evenings, lettin' the fresh air scrub my head clean and keep me focused on the good stuff. Now and then, Claire'd ring up to chat with Betsy and Linda. Every call kicked up a mess of feelin's in me, glad the girls still had their mom around, but it stung, draggin' up the past. I kept that locked down, though. My job was holdin' the line for my daughters, plain and simple. Betsy and Linda were sittin' in Claire's little rented livin' room, lookin' half uneasy, half curious. Claire sat across from em, worn out but pushin' a smile, tryin' to kick off a normal talk. "How'd your week at school go?" she asked, soft but with this nervous edge creepin' in. Linda, the sweeter one, nodded and started rattlin' off stuff about an art project she was messin' with. Claire soaked up every word, hangin' on like she was tryin' to lock it all in her memory. Betsy, though, stayed tight-lipped. She'd toss out short answers, dodgin' Claire's eyes. When Claire nudged her about how she was feelin', Betsy just shrugged, cool as ice. I'm good. Dad's got us covered. That hit Claire hard, I could tell, but she didn't push back. She got that trust was gonna take time, especially after what she pulled. Each visit was her shot to prove she was steppin' up as a mom. Linda, bless her soft heart, tried smoothin' things over. She'd grab Betsy's hand when she got too standoffish or sneak Claire a little smile to keep her goin'. But even with Linda, Claire could feel the gap stretchin' between them. After the girls headed back to me from each visit, Claire'd sit by herself in that little apartment, runnin' the day over in her head. She'd pick apart what she could have done different, the sting of losin' our family crashin' over her like a wave. Thing is, she knew the past was set in stone. All she could do was keep pushin', day by day, to prove to Betsy and Linda she was still their mom, even if everything changed. As time rolled on, I started seeing life on my own not just as a pile of headaches, but a chance to figure myself out. I jumped into stuff around town, hit the field with some new buddies for pickup games, even messed around with cookin' fancier meals. Betsy warmed up slow, didn't freeze Claire out as much, though she kept her guard up. Linda, though, she got tighter with both of us, turnin' into this little glue holdin' the pieces together. Life after the split was a damn mess of ups and downs, but me and Claire both figured out the girls' happiness and a steady home were what counted most. Through all the grind, we caught this tiny spark of hope, faint, yeah, but enough to keep us goin'. The sun was sinkin' low, paintin' the golf course in this soft, golden light as Howard and his old pal Leonard finished their round. Leonard, gray streaks in his hair, cool as a cucumber, ambled alongside Howard, his eyes driftin' thoughtful over the rows of trees stretchin' out quiet in the distance. "You holdin' up all right?" Leonard asked, his low voice punchin' through the thick hush. Howard let out a heavy breath, clutchin' his golf club like it was keepin' him from fallin' apart. "I don't know, Leonard," he said, watchin' a lone leaf float lazy down to the grass. "Thought I was doin' the right thing, but now." Leonard stopped short, turnin' to square up with him. "You didn't pull the trigger yourself, Howard. It was a domino effect that landed where it did. You gotta quit carryin' that blame." End of chapter 4. Howard lifted his head, face twistin' with pain. "Not straight up, Leonard. I told you Larry was always hoopin' it up Saturday afternoons. Knew damn well what you'd do with that, and I still spilled it. Figured you'd spook him, and now he's gone." Leonard clapped a solid hand on Howard's shoulder, a mix of comfort and ownin' it too. "Yeah, I blasted the horn to rattle him, but listen, Howard, I couldn't steer what came after. He bolted into the road blind. That SUV finished it. It wasn't on purpose." "An accident," Howard muttered, the word sour on his tongue. "We set the stage for that accident. If I'd kept my mouth shut, if I hadn't nudged you quiet like, Larry might still be breathin'. Leonard eyed him close, his steady gaze not budgin'. "So you're kickin' yourself over it, Howard? Wishin' he was still around, screwin' up Jake's life, pushin' him deeper into the ditch? You think this was just payback for Jake? Nah, you did it for your grandgirls, to shield your family." Howard turned off, trudgin' slow across the grass, shoulders sagged under the load of what he'd done. In his head, that day burned bright, replayin' the nerves when Leonard bought into his idea, the sharp honk of the horn, the gut-punchin' crunch of the crash, and Larry sprawled out still on the pavement. God, what did I do? Howard's mind churned, feet draggin' heavy. Just wanted it over. Wanted to keep Jake safe, keep my granddaughters safe. But did it have to go down like this? Was there no other way? I couldn't shake the memory of Jake's eyes when he got word about Larry dyin', no spark of triumph or calm in them, just this empty stare of a guy teeterin' on the brink, left with nothin' but a void. Leonard cut through the quiet again. "You might feel like a rotten bastard, Howard, but if we hadn't stepped in, Jake could have torn himself apart. Don't you get it? Sometimes what's right ain't the same as what's nice. Howard didn't say a word, his fists balled up so tight his knuckles went pale. Leonard had a point. Larry wasn't just trouble for Jake, he was a wrecking ball aimed at the whole family. Still, that cold logic didn't do much to ease the gnawing in Howard's chest. At last, he lifted his head, face set hard. "Leonard, this is gonna stick with me till I'm in the ground. You might be on the money, but that don't make it any less heavy." Leonard gave a slow nod, like he felt it too. "That's the cost we fork over, Howard. But you ain't haulin' it solo, I'm right here, takin' my chunk of the load." They started walkin' again across the golf course, neither one breathin' another word. Both of 'em knew that weight wasn't goin' anywhere, but for Howard, the only thing keepin' his feet movin' was believin' he'd somehow spared Jake's family from somethin' worse. Deep down, though, one nag stayed put: what if I got it wrong? On a peaceful mornin', I was parked at the kitchen table, soft sunlight pourin' through the curtains, warmin' up the house with this cozy feel. A hot mug of coffee sat steamin' next to a newspaper I'd barely cracked. From the livin' room, Betsy and Linda's giggles bounced around, they were glued to some TV show, Logan, like kids oughta. Those simple sounds, stuff I used to shrug off, hit me different now, little gems I held onto tight. Life after the divorce ain't been a picnic, but I'd carved out a new groove bit by bit. Kept clutchin away at my program from home, hit the streets for night runs, and even smashed some ping-pong with a couple old pals now and then. Went on a few dates, nothin' serious, just kickin' it, but I didn't let it go anywhere, half scared, half 'cause my girls were still my whole world. Betsy, stubborn as ever, started easin' up some with me and Claire, lettin' a little light through her walls. Linda, our little fixer, kept bustin' her gut to keep things smooth between everybody. Seein' my daughters grow made my chest swell, but I knew the cuts they carried, tucked out of sight, weren't gonna fade quick. Come quiet nights, when the house hushed down, I'd sit solo in my armchair, starin' at this old family pic on the shelf. It was a snapshot of when things were good, now just a ghost of back then. But instead of huttin', it brought me this weird calm. Even with all the shakeups, I could tell me and the girls were inchin' the right way, slow and steady. Thinkin' back on it all, one thing kept rattlin' around in my head: does forgivin' really fix you? I didn't forgive, not 'cause I wouldn't, but 'cause I couldn't. Trust, once it's busted, don't come back easy. But had I chained myself to the dark by holdin' on to that? For Claire, the same damn question ate at her: can I ever patch up what's gone? She loved her kids and me, no fakin' that, but her dumb moves had smothered it. She'd been tryin' to link back up with Betsy and Linda, showin' she was still a mom worth a damn, but in her gut, she knew it'd never wipe the slate clean. To you readin' this, the story tosses out somethin' to chew on. Can we get past a knife in the back? Is forgivin' the only road to patchin' up, or is cuttin' loose just what you gotta do sometimes? You know, whatever's swimmin' in your head right now's just thoughts driftin' by, floatin' through. Whatever you land on, me and Claire's mess proves one thing: we're tough as hell. Life knocked us flat, but we kept crawlin' ahead, slow but sure, towards some kinda hope that might still be waitin'.